Why Gen Z is secretly obsessed with this author. If you're unaware, the author is Kafka. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read his books. I know that he made that cockroach book, but let's just see why they're obsessed with, or why I'm obsessed with him, because I'm Gen Z.
One morning, he woke up as a bug, but his first thought was not what's happening to me, it was how will I work like this? His job was more—
Your first thought you had when you woke up as a cockroach was not, ew, what am I, bro? When I wake up with a pimple on my face, I get scared and I get nervous. If I wake up and my hair looks messed up, bro, imagine waking up as a bug. I could not handle that. I would probably spray Raid on myself at that point.
more important than himself. And that's the real tragedy. This is written by this guy, Franz Kafka. Most of us think that he was just some depressed dude from the 1800s writing sad boy novels in his basement. But that's such a big lie. You see, Kafka was Gen Z before Gen Z was even a thing. This man pioneered daddy issues and social anxiety. Give me 10 minutes and I'll tell you everything there is about our sad boy Kafka.
I mean, he pioneered them, sure, but like somebody was gonna come up with it anyways. He was just lucky to be born back then. If I was born back then, I would have made these stories better than him. No, I wouldn't have, bro. I wouldn't have. I'm lying.
Let's start from the beginning. So Kafka was born a little man. Technically, everyone is born a little man, but the problem was he stayed a little man throughout his life. You see, his father was a self-made businessman, like came from nothing and built himself up. An alpha male, if you must. He was a very assertive, big, and a strong man, and he wanted his son to be exactly like him.
Yeah, I think whenever you try to push your son or your friend or someone, like your son, daughter, specifically father-son relationships or parent-son relationships, and you try to push them into like a specific career path and do exactly what I want to do because I want to live through you, I think that it rarely works. Hey, sometimes it does work because when you think about it, all the best sports players, their parents put them into sports at a young age because they kind of wanted to live through them, or they also did the same thing, like Floyd Mayweather, like a bunch of NFL players, NBA players. I don't know about LeBron James. I don't think he had a dad. That's besides the point, but I feel like you should give options to your kid, but then after a certain age, as a young child, you make them pick an option. Because personally, bro, not personally, I think this is factually proven. Starting young and mastering something is literally like one of the best ways to have like a guaranteed career. Like if you give your kid a bunch of options and he picks chess and you start him at 7 years old and get him working on chess daily, like it's like a real routine instead of just brain rotting on TikTok and iPad, which literally is better for your brain playing chess and doing something, actually learning a skill and getting better at something than just being a doofus kid. Like you could still be a kid, but get in your hours of getting good at a skill. By the time they're 18, 20, maybe chess will be obsolete, but they will actually have a good career. They could possibly go into that as a career, whether it be entertainment with content or a professional. And that's with anything you could think of. Painting, drawing, sports. I'm not really sure about the entertainment industry because that's more subjective. There's not really an objective skill, but maybe even acting, comedy, and things like that. Because if you start later, you could still become the best at what you do or one of the best or become successful with it, but it's much harder because you have literally less hours to work with, less time to work with before you become an adult, and you have to kind of, pick something.
Strong, big, and loud. But how a little boy Kafka? He was a very shy boy in his childhood. He was very quiet, soft-spoken, and a book-reading boy. His dad saw that and was like, nah fam, that ain't right. So his father was not very proud of him and became—
I think what I'm gonna do when I have a child is, whether they're a boy or a girl, well, more like a boy, because I don't know if sexism, hopefully, I don't know what they're gonna be, whatever, if it's a boy or a girl, try to get them in motorsports. But for girls, the motorsport scene is kind of obsolete. So maybe if I had a girl, maybe get her into something like chess or something where women are actually a big factor and they wouldn't literally just be the only women there. So, or maybe even sports like no, actually, I think if I had a girl, I'd get her into soccer, because there's like a big market for women soccer players, or maybe some other sport, or maybe some other skill, or it's art is a good one. I liked art, but I never became a good. Anyways, I'm really into motorsports. I think that's literally dope. So if I had a son, I would get him into motorsports as young as possible. Hopefully I have money to get him through that, because you need money to do that and you need to start young to be great at that. That's what everybody be doing.
Distant from a little boy Kafka. So he grew up with a sense of being not enough and a constant need for seeking validation from his father, which he never got. But he made up for the lack of his physical strength by being a really intelligent student. He even got admission into Charles University in Prague, a very prestigious university and a difficult university to get into. And there he started learning chemistry. But his father went, "What?
This is off topic, but are you intelligent because you try in school, or or are you intelligent because you're intelligent? You know what I mean? Like, I know plenty of people who tried really hard in high school and got into good colleges, but they are some of the most brain dead people I've ever met. They are dumb as bricks, like genuinely, like actually dumb as bricks. They were just really smart in the fact that they were able to study and be diligent with their work. I had to learn that after high school. I mean, I wasn't dumb in high school, but I was able to, you work on whatever after high school and do pretty good in college.
He's learning chemistry,
currently
such
in
a
college.
useless subject. I am disappointed. You should have studied law so that you could have helped out our family business and be a man. Finally, and being a validation hungry boy, to please his father, Kafka switched his course from chemistry to law and became a lawyer. But personally, he was not very happy being a lawyer. He hated the routine and bureaucratic nature of his work. Turns out, sacrificing your dreams for someone else's approval doesn't really spark joy. Who would have guessed, right? But he kept on doing his 9 to 5 and
Yeah, but everybody does it anyways. Even if like you know that your dreams or sacrifice your dreams for other people's approval, but low-key sometimes I think like I should have done that instead. Or sometimes I think that it is a good option because I personally have a lot of interest, but I never picked anything young. I never picked anything young where I could really develop my skill. And looking back at it, bro, I mean, I don't regret anything, but I wish that I played soccer. I wish that I took soccer seriously because it was literally like a family thing, and I enjoy soccer. You know, I'm a big fan of football. I'm a big fan of watching it. But yeah, bro, I think you should do what you want, but also have the mindset of, is this valid? Sure. And are you actually trying hard? Like one area I always think of that people make fun of for some reason, that's like, oh, it sucks. You're just a poor art is art. But how I look at it is, if you want to be an artist, whatever kind of artist you want to be, painter, digital anime, whatever, right? You already are aware of the fact that that job is really hard, or it's almost impossible to make that into a job. But if you are actually super passionate about it and understand that fact, thus you work hard, like it's literally a 9 to 5, but your passion, you work hard at it every day to get the best possible you can, you will probably be successful, bro. You probably will. But if you're one of those kids, I want to do what makes me happy, and you're doing art but like not taking it seriously, then you're gonna be an adult, 25 years old and poor, not realizing that try your art. That's why I feel like parents, that's why I don't disagree with when parents tell like people to make the smart choice, go to college, get this white collar job, because most of the time young adults or teenagers aren't passionate enough, aren't diligent enough, don't have that drive to actually make their passion that seems like it won't work actually work, because it takes a ton of effort.
And he started to write in the evenings after his day job while living with his parents. And writing was like a coping mechanism for him to block out all the noises in his head. So one night in 1912,
Bro, can we just admire the fact that this guy had no Grammarly, no AI, nothing, and he was writing? But like all the authors of that time, like, yo, I can't even write a sentence without using Google Docs spell corrector.
Just clicked in his mind. He sat down and almost zoned out, wrote an entire story in one go of a man who wakes up as a bug. Yup, the Metamorphosis, his magnum opus. And 112 years later, it's still trending on Goodreads with 1.3 million reviews, and like 700,000 people are waiting to read it. We'll talk about this book.
Bro, I want to read it. Sometimes I feel like we give these classics more love because of the fact that they are classics, but I want to read it to actually see if it's a good book. Because I'm going to be honest, bro, if it's bad, I'm going to say it's bad. Even though obviously, maybe, no, I was going to say books of today are probably better because, you know, the skill evolved of writing, but writing is also a very subjective like industry, so it doesn't really get objectively better, because I've literally read books that don't use period. Like there's a book called Normal People, and it doesn't use quotation marks, so when the people are talking, you just have to assume, and it's such a dumb book because I couldn't read through it because my brain couldn't work out when they were talking and who. Like you don't have to follow any rules of writing books, which is kind of I don't know, it's a lot of subjectivity.
Later in the video. For now, let's come back to our boy Kafka. So Kafka tried this whole romance thing too. He fell in love, well, at least he tried to, but because he had so strong daddy issues, he just could not maintain a healthy relationship for any long duration. He got engaged to his girlfriend, then broke up, then got engaged again, and in the end, he just ghosted her.
Bro, I must have a hot take. Having daddy issues is cope for you not being mentally strong and confident enough to, do what you want to do. There are situations where maybe your dad did some crazy stuff or your parents did, but his situation, bro, your dad wanted you to do this and you feel like you didn't give him the validation. Grow up, bro. Grow up. I don't care. That's a bad take, but grow up. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
You know, classic daddy issues. You see, he wanted to have a relationship, but he was just too scared of any commitment.
He was
He saw
insecure,
marriage
bro.
as a prison and himself unworthy of love. He once wrote, "Sex is the punishment for being together." Bro was spiraling. Now you know, just
Sex is a punishment for being together, bro. That's like the part that brings together man and woman and like divines the flesh. Like that's the most beautiful part, and you make children that way. That's beautiful.
how scared he was of marriage. But later, when he was 34, he got diagnosed with tuberculosis. So slowly, like a shadow, it consumed everything. He was sick, fragile, and weak. In this stage, he met another woman, Dora. No, not Dora the Explorer, but Dora Damient, an actual sunshine in human form. She was a very calm, caring, and loving lady. She was with Kafka during the final stages of his life. She comforted him, and it's almost comforting for us to know too that Kafka finally, before dying, met someone who really loved him. And in the end, the tuberculosis got to his throat, making swallowing food excruciatingly painful. So he starved himself to death at 40 years old in 1924.
Wait, can we just realize that my hot take wasn't actually a hot take because he was able to fall in love, so he was able to remove those daddy issues by actually just realizing that he was being an immature little dude and being confident and loving somebody or being able to be loved?
So as we know, Kafka wrote during evenings after his day job. He suffered from insomnia and would often write till sunrise. But he was extremely self-critical, like to the point of hating nearly everything he wrote. He would often abandon his stories midway, and the ones he
That could either be the biggest superpower or probably the worst trait you could have, because then you're just never going to finish anything. But that reminds me, bro, there's this author called Brandon Sanderson, and it really puts into perspective, as I was saying, it really puts into perspective how hard like people work for their, like writing is also another industry where it's going to be so hard to be successful. But this author named Brandon Sanderson would work a night shift and then write while on the job and then write hella books, write dozens of books before even having one published. And when you think about it, people are like, oh, I'm just gonna write a book. I'm not gonna say who it was, but I came across this YouTuber who wrote a book and like just her first book she published. Like you have to get the experience of writing books in order to write a good book or expect to write a good book. You can't. I mean, there might be some people out there that do it on their first try, first like 10 tries to write good books, but you have to get the repetitions in by reading and writing. You can't just expect to be good at the waking up.
finished, he refused to publish because he was just so insecure about his writings. And before dying in 1924, he'd been sick for many years now, barely able to eat or speak, and with no major publications yet. And you know his last piece of writing? It's a letter begging doctors not to force feed him because of the intense pain. It is called A Hunger Artist. You see his state? But here's the plot twist. On his deathbed, Kafka told his best friend, Max Brod, to burn everything he has ever written. Everything. All the
Bro, is Kafka one of those like authors that everything got published and he got big after he died? That just sucks, bro. Who was that artist? Was it Picasso or Van Gogh? Or who was it that they got like their art got way bigger after they died? What's the point, bro? I mean, yeah, your art lives on, but you kind of made it hoping that you would be alive to like enjoy the fact that, you know, people liked your work or your efforts were successful.
published novels, stories, diaries, letters. Just light it up. Max Brod, being the supportive friend, said, absolutely, mate. Your wish is my command. Wink, wink.
And
So
he lied
after
and published
Kafka's death, he completely ignored his wishes. He published The Trial, The Castle, America, and a ton of short stories and diaries. Basically, we only know Kafka as a literary legend because his bestie betrayed him. And for the record, Max Brod thought Kafka is too important to disappear into ashes. And you know, this is my first video on such a topic, so
Bro, so what happened? Who made all the money?
please like this video. It really helps me a ton. Thank you.
Metamorphosis?
Don't worry, I won't spoil much of the story, but I will introduce you to it. So, the protagonist of this story, Gregor Samsa, wakes up one morning and finds himself turned into a cockroach. Now, don't take that literally. What Kafka means is, something happens to a person that's
Hold on. I've heard this debate. Is the cockroach literal or not? The way he speaks about it, I think I've read or looked at the first page of Metamorphosis, and he literally says, my wings look like a cockroach, my 8 legs or some shit. Like, it seems pretty literal. Like, literal. And isn't the cover? Oh, the cover is a cockroach, but that's modern day. Anyways, it seems pretty literal. I think any interpretation, whether it's literal or metaphorically, is fine. So I don't know why he's acting like there's one freaking answer. I would err on the side of it being literal. You know, a lot of these old books kind of had that weird, yeah, a lot of these old classic books are kind of a little bit interesting with the way they were like written. They always have weird meanings or deeper psychological, philosophical meanings. Me personally, I enjoy that more than, you know, a lot of modern day stories, but I haven't gotten deep into modern day books, mostly because the biggest books are TikTok romance books for some reason that are all smut, and hey, to each their own.
Completely out of their control, and they can't reverse it. Your interpretation of turning into a cockroach may be a life-changing injury, or a severe mental illness, or anything that takes away your independence and makes you rely entirely on your family. So the real
Or let me get this. He actually turned into a cockroach.
question is, how would your family react to this? That's the core idea of the story. Kafka just takes it to the extreme, like turning Gregor into a literal cockroach. Once that happens, the book follows the relationship between him and his family. You see, before he became a bug, Gregor was the sole breadwinner of the family. So at first, his family is concerned. His mother worries about him, his sister brings him food, but over time, things change. They grow distant, frustrated, and eventually, they start wishing that he would just disappear. They start to see him as a burden. You see, Gregor can't be the breadwinner anymore. He cannot pay for the food, the shopping, the bills. So now, does he even deserve the love or respect? That is the harsh reality Kafka wanted to show us.
What is that? The harsh reality that some people's family sucks and they don't they only value their family members based off conditions. My guy, what are you dumb? If you're only valuing your brother, sister, or son or parent or whatever just because they're bringing you money, then you are a weirdo. You don't like that. That's on you. It's a you issue. There's nothing that Kafka is showing me there that I don't understand. People are strange. I agree.
The moment you stop being useful, people start treating you like you don't even exist. I highly recommend you this book.
The moment you stop being useful, people start treating you like you don't even exist. But he's saying that like it's a universal claim that is true. But the reality is that only some people are like that. Bro, have we not all seen the videos, the stories of a kid who got into an accident, is a paraplegic, or a kid that survived something, lost his body, lost an arm, or something crazy, and their family takes care of them because they love them. They love them as a human. It's not conditional love. It's unconditional. That's always been my take. There are two types of love: conditional love and unconditional love. Conditional love is almost all love is conditional love, whether it be your friends, the fact that they're loyal to you, the fact that they're funny, the fact that you enjoy being around them. Is Indian YouTuber is the comment. The fact that you enjoy being around them, the fact that your girlfriend, she's loyal, that she doesn't cheat. These are all conditions that you must meet. The only two types of unconditional love I would say is between your mom and God. Because your mom, bro, if you kill somebody, your mom's gonna be at your trial crying, hoping that you were innocent somehow. Even if she knows that you did it, she's gonna still be with you. And God's God. So do you love me? Let's get on with the video. No, I didn't.
Recently, you may also have seen the rise of philosophy or self-help in Gen Z side of the internet, and that has made Kafka really popular. How, you may ask? 1. Productivity equals to self-worth. Have you seen those edits of Joe Rogan and David Goggins on your homepage? There is so much demand for productivity content. People have suddenly tied their self-worth to how productive their day was. They buy books about this, watch podcasts like this, they get sad.
Productivity content is cringe because people consume the productivity content instead of being productive, which is what the point of the productivity content is. They just LARP as a productive person.
When their day was not as productive as they had hoped for. And Kafka resonates with this crowd a lot. The things you can achieve or have are more important than yourself, is the key idea that makes Kafka the older brother of Gen Z that they never had. Feeling like an outsider? That's very Kafka core. See, Kafka was a Jew who spoke German.
Hold on. That just caught me off guard. Kafka was a Jew who spoke German, okay? So Gen Z relates to Kafka because he was a Jew who spoke German. Interesting.
In Prague, where everyone else...
Why is philosophy such a big thing for the younger generation, I feel like? That's actually a good-ass question. I don't even know. I think most of the time philosophy is big kind of like in the social media space, like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, and then people see it and, you know, think they are this pseudo-intelligent person, kind of like me. I think most people get into philosophy. I don't know. actually. I think maybe it's just a trend. I think a lot of things for our generation is just a trend that people get into philosophy, people get into this, people get into that, and trends come and go. Philosophy is trendy right now for people. Hey, it is what it is. My philosophy comes from the fact that I believe in God. That's why I like philosophy.
Spoke Czech. So basically, he was not fully accepted by the Czech majority because he spoke a different language, German, and he wasn't
And also philosophy gives people like meaning, like, oh, and makes people feel smart. That's my idea. It gives people meaning and makes people feel smart. Oh, life is actually doesn't mean anything. Moral nihilism. Yes, I hate everything. Or freaking, I'm a panpsychist. Consciousness in the cells. Or the ship of. It's like I don't know. People, they find certain things cool or interesting. I think
by
it's
the
just
German
trends.
community either, because well, he was a Jew, and
Why are we so hyper-focused on him being Jewish?
He felt disconnected because his family wasn't very super religious, but he still identified as Jewish. So you see how he was not accepted anywhere in any community, and that made him feel alienated. And alienation is something that is so prevalent in today's generation. Human connections are so rare. People are making connections with AI. I saw this news some days back.
Yeah, but that's because people alienate themselves, bro. Like, people choose to brain rot themselves on their phone and not make a human connection or with their friend or family member or mom or dad or brother or sister, but maybe realize that it's a you personal issue. That's why alienation is a problem. Hey, some people like being alone, and that's completely fine. I kind of, like that. I like not the loneliness, because it's not lonely. I like space.
Where a guy proposed to ChatGPT for marriage.
Yeah,
and
that's insane.
no, he was not a 42-year-old man living in his mom's basement. He was a married man and had a kid. You see, people are more alone than ever before, and that strikes a chord with our generation. Family pressure and daddy issues.
But is being alone the same thing as loneliness? If people are saying they're lonely, I think that's different than being alone, because somebody could have friends in school and still feel lonely. Hey, I don't know. That's never been a me thing. I've never really felt lonely. Maybe it's because I had good connections with family, good biblical connections, good connections with friends.
Kafka's dad, Hermann Kafka, was a big, loud, successful, self-made businessman, completely opposite of Franz, who was sensitive, introvert, awkward, and super intellectual. His father constantly criticized him, made him feel weak, and thought writing was pointless. So Kafka grew up feeling he didn't fit into the mold his dad wanted, and these family issues are also very, very common in Gen Z. So this was my first video of this type.
Yeah, that was interesting. He didn't really explain why they're obsessed with Kafka. Maybe why Gen Z finds Kafka relatable, sure, but I think Gen Z finds anything relatable. Anything that has any type of sadness, philosophical meaning, depression. Gen Z always looking for sadness and everything is what I feel like.